Hey, happy people. I am here with your weekly deductions explanation. Today, we are focusing on travel deductions, specifically travel deductions that are done locally, not the ones where you go out of town. So, this one's heavily focused on mileage. So, give me a second here, as I'm still trying to figure out how to do some of this fancy pantsy stuff. I may not be able to share my screen while I record. Yes, I can. And there we go. So, common and commonly misunderstood deductions, and today's is about local travel. But before we get into that, I've put little cues on each of the slides for the deductions because all deductions come down to yes, you can always use them. No, you can never use them. And maybe under the right circumstances, you can use them. So, all the deductions we're going to talk about in this program will be flagged green, yellow, or red. Today, we're talking about mileage slash transportation slash travel. And there are three kinds of deductions with three sets of rules. We are only talking about commuting and local travel and the rules associated with that today. Next week, I'm going to talk about out of town travel. And as you can see by the yellow button up there, sometimes you can take a mileage transportation travel deduction, and sometimes you can't. Let's start with the first one, which I think a lot of you may not be familiar with, and this is going to be bad news. And there's a big red dot up there. It's called commuting. If you have a fixed location for work, you can't take a mileage deduction. And for those of us who are private practitioners, but especially those of us who are independent contractors and go to other people's offices regularly, or if you're in private practice and you go to an office regularly, that would be a fixed location if you're there on a fixed schedule. That's commuting. You can't take that deduction. That was a bummer for me because the last place I worked in DC, I was an independent contractor and I was there every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. And I couldn't take any of that mileage. Even if I had gone into the office outside of my regular schedule, it was still commuting and I couldn't take that mileage as a deduction, which is a bummer. Bad news, but there you go. And then there's local travel. And this is what a lot of us do when we go to the bank or we go to an out call. And there's a rule in here that a lot of us are not familiar with. Local travel is any travel that happens between two business stops. Doot, 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 doot. And that is somewhere you stop with a business intent. However, this is a biggie. Your home is not a business stop unless you take a deduction in your business to have a home office. And we're going to talk about home office in like 2 weeks. And I strongly encourage you to take a home office deduction if it's even remotely possible for you. But I'm going to show you here what that means in practical terms. So let's say you started from your home, you went to the office supply store, your home, because you took a home office deduction. That's a business stop. You went to the office supply store to pick up things for your work. That's a business stop. You went to the bank for stuff related to business. That's a business stop. You went home because it's a home office. It's a business stop. So all of the mileage in between each of those stops is deductible mileage. And mileage this year is deducted at 67 cents a mile if you're doing that flat rate thing. If you would like to look at your options, open up "Can I deduct that?" and go to car, auto, mileage. I don't know. It's in there. I can never remember what I've called it. Now, here's what happens. Same trip, but you don't have a home office. You've never taken a deduction for your home office. So you don't start counting mileage until you get to the office supply store, and the mileage between this office supply store and the bank, which are both still business stops, is legit. But the mileage to and from home doesn't count. This is where you can rack up a lot of good mileage deductions by taking a home office deduction. Here's an example, same trip, but we threw a stop into the grocery store towards the end. Leave from your home office, business stop. Go to the office supply store, business stop. Bank, still a business stop. Grocery store. If you were picking up stuff for your office, say toilet paper, and you always have a nice bowl of mints on the front desk, MINTS, then your grocery store would be a business stop. But this time you just picked up groceries for home, so it's not a business stop. And then you go home, which is a business stop. So this mileage between two business stops, legit. Here, between two business stops, legit. Here, not between two business stops, not legit. Here, not between two business stops, not legit. And I will stop share. So, what you need to remember about local travel is that it's not, I got in my car with the intent to do something business. It's, I went somewhere with the intent for business, and that stop is what's important. The mileage between two stops. Not that you got in the car with a business intent, but between two stops, that mileage counts, which is hard to think about until you get used to it. A lot of this is like that. Until you get used to it, you're like, well, how would they even know? What difference does it make? I'm not telling you how would they know or what difference it makes. I'm just telling you what the rules are and how they work. So that's the lowdown on local travel. Commuting doesn't count, and local mileage, and this is the same as if you take the bus or you take a ride share. I mean, it's your transportation has to be between two business stops. So when you're doing your account, when you're doing your bookkeeping and you're remembering that you did some traveling for business, think about where did I go? And was it between two business stops? And in your bookkeeping, this is where the notes field comes in really handy. A notes field that says, I traveled 12 miles, it says 12 office supply store. Okay, cool. Now, if you're ever audited and you go back and go, yeah, that's why I took that mileage deduction. I went to the office supply store. Or I went to the office supply store in the bank. This is where your notes field comes in really handy. Because if you're audited 3, 4 years from now, you're not going to remember. I have trouble remembering the beginning of the month. So, got any questions about that? Put a comment in Bookkeeping Buddies or put in a posting in Bookkeeping Buddies or send me a direct message and I'll do my very best to answer your questions. And I will see you again soon. Bye bye.